There was a hill to which I used to resort. The labour of walking 3 miles to it, all the while gradually ascending, seemed to clear my blood of the heaviness accumulated at home. On a warm summer day, the slow continued rise required continual effort, which carried away the sense of oppression. The familiar, everyday scene was soon out of sight. I came to other trees, meadows and fields. I began to breathe a new air and to have a fresher aspiration. I restrained my soul till I reached the sward of the hill. Psyche, the soul that longed to be loose, I restrained Psyche, my soul, till I reached and put my foot on the grass at the beginning of the green hill itself. Moving up the sweet, short turf, at every step my heart seemed to obtain a wider horizon of feeling. With every inhalation of rich, pure air, a deeper desire. The very light of the sun was whiter and more brilliant here. By the time I had reached the summit, I had entirely forgotten the petty circumstances and the annoyances of existence. I felt myself. There was an entrenchment on the summit, and going down into the fosse, I walked round it slowly to recover breath. On the southwestern side, there was a spot where the outer bank had partially slipped, leaving a gap. There the view was over a broad plain, beautiful with wheat, and enclosed by a perfect amphitheatre of green hills. Through these hills there was one narrow groove or pass, southwards, where the white clouds seemed to close in the horizon. Woods hid the scattered hamlets and farmhouses, so that I was quite alone. I was utterly alone with the sun and the earth. Lying down on the grass, I spoke in my soul to the earth, the sun, the air, and the distant sea far beyond sight. I thought of the earth's firmness. I felt it bear me up. Through the grassy couch there came an influence, as if I could feel the great earth speaking to me. I thought of the wandering air, its pureness, which is its beauty. The air touched me and gave me something of itself. I spoke to the sea, though so far. In my mind I saw it, green at the rim of the earth and blue in deeper ocean. I desired to have its strength, its mystery and glory. Then I addressed the sun, desiring the sole equivalent of his light and brilliance, his endurance and unwearied race. I turned to the blue heaven over, gazing into its depth, inhaling its exquisite colour and sweetness. The rich blue of the unattainable flower of the sky drew my soul towards it, and there it rested, for pure colour is rest of heart. By all these I prayed. I felt an emotion of the soul beyond all definition. Prayer is a puny thing to it, and the word is a rude sign to the feeling, but I know no other. By the blue heaven, by the rolling sun bursting through untrodden space, a new ocean of ether every day unveiled. By the fresh and wandering air encompassing the world, by the sea sounding on the shore, the green sea white flecked at the margin, and the deep ocean, by the strong earth under me. Then, returning, I prayed by the sweet thyme, whose little flowers I touched with my hand, by the slender grass, by the crumble of dry, chalky earth I took up and let fall through my fingers. Touching the crumble of earth, the blade of grass, the thyme flower, breathing the earth, encircling air, thinking of the sea and the sky, holding out my hand for the sunbeams to touch it, prone on the sward in token of deep reverence. Thus I prayed, that I might touch to the unutterable existence infinitely higher than Deity. With all the intensity of feeling which exalted me, all the intense communion I held with the earth, the sun and sky, the stars hidden by the light, with the ocean, in no manner can the thrilling depth of these feelings be written. With these I prayed, as if they were the keys of an instrument, of an organ, with which I swelled forth the notes of my soul, redoubling my own voice by their power. The great sun burning with light, the strong earth, dear earth, the warm sky, the pure air, the thought of ocean, the inexpressible beauty of all filled me with the rapture, an ecstasy, an inflatus. With this inflatus too I prayed. Next to myself I came and recalled myself, my bodily existence. I held out my hand. The sunlight gleamed on the skin and the iridescent nails. I recalled the mystery and beauty of the flesh. I thought of the mind with which I could see the ocean 60 miles distant and gather to myself its glory. I thought of my inner existence, that consciousness which is called the soul. These, that is, myself, I threw into the balance to weigh the prayer the heavier. My strength of body, mind, and soul I flung into it. I put forth my strength. I wrestled and laboured and toiled in might of prayer. The prayer, this sole emotion, was in itself not for an object. It was a passion. I hid my face in the grass. I was wholly prostrated. I lost myself in the wrestle. I was wrapped and carried away. Becoming calmer, I returned to myself and thought, reclining in rapt thought, full of aspiration, steeped to the lips of my soul in desire. I did not then define or analyze or understand this. I see now that what I labored for was soul life. All the succeeding incidents of the year repeated my prayer as I noted them. The first green leaf on the hawthorn, the first spike of meadow grass, the first song of the nightingale, the green ear of wheat. I spoke it with the ear of wheat as the sun tinted it golden, with the whitening barley, again with the red gold spots of autumn on the beach, the buff oak leaves, and the gossamer, dew-weighted. All the larks over the green corn sang it for me, all the deer swallows. The green leaves rustled it, The green brook flags waved it. The swallows took it with them to repeat it for me in distant lands. By the running brook I meditated it. A flash of sunlight here in the curve, a flicker yonder on the ripples. The birds bathing in the sandy shallow, the rush of falling water. As the brook ran winding through the meadow, so one thought ran winding through my days. Sometimes I spent the whole day walking over the hills searching for it, as if the labour of walking would force it from the ground. I remained in the woods for hours, among the ash sprays and the fluttering of the ring-doves at their nests, the scent of pines here and there, dreaming my prayer. Sometimes a gleam of sunlight on the wall, the buzz of a bee at the window, would bring the thought to me. Silence and sunshine, sea and hill, gradually brought my mind into the condition of intense prayer. Day after day, for hours at a time, I came there. My sole desire, always the same. I cannot understand time. It is eternity now. I am in the midst of it. It is about me in the sunshine. I am in it. As the butterfly floats in the light-laden air. Nothing has to come. It is now. Now is eternity. Now is the immortal life. Here this moment, by this tumulus on earth, now, I exist in it. The years, the centuries, the cycles are absolutely nothing. It is only a moment since this tumulus was raised. In 1,000 years more, it will still be only a moment. To the soul there is no past and no future. All is and will be ever in now. For artificial purposes, time is mutually agreed on, but there is really no such thing. The shadow goes on upon the dial, the index moves round upon the clock, and what is the difference? None whatever. If the clock had never been set going, what would have been the difference? There may be time for the clock. The clock may make time for itself. There is none for me. I dip my hand in the brook and feel the stream. In an instant, the particles of water which first touch me have floated yards down the current. My hand remains there. I take my hand away, and the flow, the time of the brook does not exist to me. The great clock of the firmament, the sun and the stars, the crescent moon, the earth circling 2,000 times, is no more to me than the flow of the brook when my hand is withdrawn. My soul has never been, and never can be, dipped in time. Time has never existed, and never will. It is a purely artificial arrangement. It is eternity now. It always was eternity, and always will be. By no possible means could I get into time if I tried. I am in eternity now, and must there remain. Haste not, be at rest. This now is eternity. Because the idea of time has left my mind, if ever it had any hold on it, to me the man interred in the tumulus is living now, as I live. We are both in eternity. There is no separation, no past. Eternity, the now, is continuous. When all the stars have revolved, they only produce now again. The continuity of now is forever, so that it appears to me purely natural and not supernatural that the soul whose temporary frame was interred in this mound should be existing as I sit on the sward. How infinitely deeper is thought than the million miles of the firmament. The wonder is here, not there. Now, not to be. Now, always. I conclude that there is an existence, a something higher than soul, higher, better, and more perfect than deity. Earnestly I pray to find this something better than a god. There is something superior, higher, more good. For this I search, labour, think, and pray. If after all there be nothing, and my soul has to go out like a flame, yet, even then, I have thought this while it lives. With the whole force of my existence, with the whole force of my thought, mind, and soul, I pray to find this highest soul, this greater than deity, this better than God. Give me to live the deepest soul life now and always with this soul. For want of words, I write soul, but I think that it is something beyond soul. I saw the sun rise over the line of the hills. I looked at the hills, at the dewy grass, and then up through the elm branches to the sky. In a moment, all that was behind me, the house, the people, the sounds, seemed to disappear and to leave me alone. Involuntarily, I drew a long breath. Then I breathed slowly. My thought, or inner consciousness, went up through the illumined sky, and I was lost in a moment of exaltation. This only lasted a very short time, perhaps only a part of a second, and while it lasted, there was no formulated wish. I was absorbed. I drank the beauty of the morning. I was exalted. When it ceased, I did wish for some increase or enlargement of my existence to correspond to the largeness of feeling I had momentarily enjoyed. Sometimes the wind came through the tops of the elms, and the slender boughs bent, and gazing up through them, and beyond the fleecy clouds, I felt lifted up. The light coming across the grass and leaving itself on the dewdrops, the sound of the wind, and the sense of mounting to the lofty heaven filled me with a deep sigh, a wish to draw something out of the beauty of it, some part of that which caused my admiration, the subtle inner essence. Sometimes the green tips of the highest boughs seemed gilded, the light laid a gold on the green, or the trees bowed to a stormy wind roaring through them, the grass threw itself down, and in the east broad curtains of a rosy tint stretched along. The light was turned to redness in the vapour, and rain hid the summit of the hill. In the rush and roar of the stormy wind, the same exultation, the same desire lifted me for a moment. I went there every morning. I could not exactly define why. It was like going to a rose bush, to taste the scent of the flower and feel the dew from its petals on the lips. But I desired the beauty, the inner, subtle meaning, to be in me, that I might have it, and with it, an existence of a higher kind. Later on, I began to have daily pilgrimages to think these things. There was a feeling that I must go somewhere and be alone. It was a necessity to have a few minutes of this separate life every day. My mind required to live its own life apart from other things. A great oak at a short distance was one resort, and sitting on the grass at the roots or leaning against the trunk, looking over the quiet meadows towards the bright southern sky, I could live my own life a little while. Behind the trunk, I was alone. I liked to lean against it, to touch the lichen on the rough bark. High in the wood of branches, the birds were not alarmed. They sang or called and passed to and fro happily. The wind moved the leaves, and they replied to it softly. And now at this distance of time, I can see the fragments of sky up through the boughs. Bees were always humming in the green field. Ringdoves went over swiftly, flying for the woods. Of the sun, I was conscious. All these men and women that pass through are driven on by the push of accumulated circumstances. They cannot stay. they must go, for they are unconscious of the sun. I used to come and stand near the apex of the promontory of pavement which juts out towards the pool of life. I still go there to ponder. Burning in the sky, the sun shone on me as when I rested in the narrow valley carved in prehistoric time. Burning in the sky, I can never forget the sun. Beyond the heat and light, I feel the presence of the sun as I felt it in the solitary valley. The presence of the resistless forces of the universe. The sun burned in the sky as I stood and pondered. Above the indistinguishable roar of the many feet, I feel the presence of the sun, of the immense forces of the universe, and beyond these, the sense of the eternal now, of the immortal. Full well aware that all has failed, yet side by side with the sadness of that knowledge, there lives on in me an unquenchable belief, thought burning like the sun, that there is yet something to be found, something real, something to give each separate personality, sunshine and flowers in its own existence now. Begin wholly afresh. Go straight to the sun, the immense forces of the universe, to the eternity unknown. Go higher than a god, deeper than prayer, and open a new day. I stood bareheaded before the sun, in the presence of the earth and air, in the presence of the immense forces of the universe. The sun burned in the sky, the vigour and growth, the warmth and light, the beauty and richness of it entered into me. An ecstasy of soul accompanied the delicate excitement of the senses. The soul rose with the body, wrapped in the fullness of the moment. I prayed there with all that expression of mind and frame, no words, no definition, inexpressible desire of physical life, of soul life, equal to and beyond the highest imagining of my heart. The great earth bearing the richness of the harvest, and its golden hills with corn, was at my back, its strength and firmness under me. The great sun shone above, the wide sea was before me, the wind came sweet and strong from the waves. The life of the earth and the sea, the glow of the sun filled me. I touched the surge with my hand, I lifted my face to the sun, I opened my lips to the wind, I prayed aloud in the roar of the waves. My soul was strong as the sea, and prayed with the sea's might. Give me fullness of life like to the sea and the sun, to the earth and the air. Give me fullness of physical life, mind equal and beyond their fullness. Give me a greatness and perfection of soul higher than all things. Give me my inexpressible desire, which swells in me like a tide. Give it to me with all the force of the sea. Body, mind, and soul. Let my mind be furnished with highest thoughts of soul life. Let me be in myself fully, and those I love, equally so. It is enough to lie on the sward in the shadow of green bells, to listen to the songs of summer, to drink in the sunlight, the air, the flowers, the sky, the beauty of all. Or upon the hilltops, to watch the white clouds rising over the curved hill lines, their shadows descending the slope. Or on the beach, to listen to the sweet sigh as the smooth sea runs up and recedes. It is lying beside the immortals, indrawing the life of the ocean, the earth, and the sun. I want to be always in company with these, with earth and sun and sea and stars by night. Oh, the pettiness of house life and the pettiness of observances, the petty necessity of useless labour. I want to be always in company with the sun and sea and earth, these and the stars by night are my natural companions. There may be other things, other physical forces even, of which we know nothing. I strongly suspect there are. There may be other ideas altogether, from any we have hitherto had the use of. For many ages, our ideas have been confined to 2 or 3. We have conceived the idea of creation, which is the highest and grandest of all, if not historically true. We have conceived the idea of design, that is, of an intelligence making order and revolution of chaos. And we have conceived the idea of evolution by physical laws of matter, which, though now so much insisted on, is as ancient as the Greek philosophers. But there may be another alternative. I think there are other alternatives. The only idea I can give is the idea that there is another idea. From standing face to face so long with the real earth, the real sun, and the real sea, I am firmly convinced that there is an immense range of thought quite unknown to us yet. The alternatives of extinction or immortality may not be the only alternatives. There may be something else, more wonderful than immortality, and far beyond and above that idea. There may be something immeasurably superior to it. As our ideas have run in circles for centuries, it is difficult to find words to express the idea that there are other ideas. For myself, though, I cannot fully express myself. I feel fully convinced that there is a vast immensity of thought, of existence, and of other things beyond even immortal existence. The mind of man is infinite. Beyond this, man has a soul. I do not use this word in the common sense which circumstances have given to it. I use it as the only term to express that inner consciousness which aspires. It would be a delight and pleasure to me to do something every day, were it ever so minute, to reflect that another human being, if at a distance of 10,000 years from this year now, would enjoy 1 hour's more life in the sense of fullness of life, in consequence of anything I had done in my little span, would be to me a piece of soul. If the eye is always watching, and the mind on the alert, ultimately, chance supplies the solution. The difficulties I have encountered have generally been solved by chance in this way. When I took an interest in archaeological matters, an interest long since extinct, I considered that a part of an army, known to have marched in a certain direction during the Civil War, must have visited a town in which I was interested. But I exhausted every mode of research in vain. There was no evidence of it. If the knowledge ever had existed, it had dropped again. Some years afterwards, when my interest had ceased, and I had put such inquiries forever aside, I was reading in the British Museum. Presently I returned my book to the shelf, and then slowly walked along the curving wall, lined with volumes, looking to see if I could light on anything to amuse me. I took out a volume for a glance. It opened of itself at a certain page, and there was the information I had so long sought. A reprint of an old pamphlet describing the visit of the army to the town in the Civil War. So chance answered the question in the course of time. And I think that, seeing how great a part chance plays in human affairs, it is essential that study should be made of chance. It seems to me that an organon might be deduced from chance as much as from experiment. Then there is the inner consciousness, the psyche, that has never yet been brought to bear upon life and its questions, besides which there is a supersensuous reason. Often I have argued with myself that such and such a course was the right one to follow, while in the intervals of thinking about it, an undercurrent of unconscious impulse has desired me to do the reverse, or to remain inactive. Sometimes it has happened that the supersensuous reasoning has been correct, and the most faultless argument wrong. I presume this supersensuous reasoning, proceeding independently in the mind, arises from perceptions too delicate for analysis. The psyche, the soul in me, tells me that there is much more. I hope succeeding generations will be able to be ideal. I hope that 9/10 of their time will be leisure time, that they may enjoy their days and the earth and the beauty of this beautiful world, that they may rest by the sea and dream, that they may dance and sing and eat and drink. I will work towards that end with all my heart. If employment they must have, and the restlessness of the mind will ensure that some will be followed, then they will find scope enough in the perfection of their physical frames, in the expansion of the mind, and in the enlargement of the soul. They shall not work for bread, but for their souls. Know the extreme value of human life. Reflect on this, and strew human life with flowers. Save every hour for the sunshine. Let your labour be so ordered that in future times the loved ones may dwell longer with those who love them. Open your minds, exalt your souls, widen the sympathies of your heart. Face the things that are now, as you will face the reality of death. Make joy real now to those you love, and help forward the joy of those yet to be born. Let us look earnestly for something better than a God. Seek for something higher than prayer, and lift our souls to be with the more than immortal now. A river runs itself clear during the night, and in sleep thought becomes pellucid. All the hurrying to and fro, the unrest and stress, the agitation and confusion subside. Like a sweet pure spring, thought pours forth to meet the light and is illumined to its depths. The dawn at my window ever causes a desire for larger thought. The recognition of the light at the moment of waking kindles afresh the wish for a broad day of the mind. There is a certainty that there are yet ideas further and greater, that there is still a limitless beyond. The dim white light of the dawn speaks it. This prophet which has come with its wonders to the bedside of every human being for so many thousands of years faces me once again with the upheld finger of light. A beam crosses my silent chamber from the window, and atoms are visible in it. A beam slants between the fir trees, and particles rise and fall within, and cross it while the air, each side, seems void. Through the heavens, a beam slants, and we are aware of the star stratum in which our earth moves. But what may be without that stratum? Certainly, it is not a void. This light tells us much, but I think in the course of time, yet more delicate and subtle mediums than light may be found, and through these we shall see into the shadows of the sky. The mind goes on and requires more than these, something higher than prayer, something higher than a God. I have been obliged to write these things by an irresistible impulse which has worked in me since early youth. They have not been written for the sake of argument, still less for any thought of profit, rather indeed the reverse. They have been forced from me by earnestness of heart, and they express my most serious convictions. For years they have been lying in my mind, continually thought of and pondered over. An inner and esoteric meaning began to come to me from all the visible universe, and indefinable aspirations filled me. I found them in the grass fields, under the trees, on the hilltops, at sunrise, and in the night. There was a deeper meaning everywhere. The sun burned with it. The broad front of morning beamed with it. A deep feeling entered me while gazing at the sky in the azure noon and in the star-lit evening. I was sensitive to all things, to the earth under and the star hollow round about, to the least blade of grass, to the largest oak. They seemed like exterior nerves and veins for the conveyance of feeling to me. Sometimes a very ecstasy of exquisite enjoyment for the entire visible universe filled me. I was aware that in reality the feeling and the thought were in me and not in the earth or sun, yet I was more conscious of it when in company with these. Intense soul emotion, intense aspiration, beyond and over the horizon, I feel that there are other waves of ideas unknown to me, flowing as the stream of ocean flows. The sun burns brightly. The sense of soul life burns in me like a torch. I know that there are ideas beyond the valley of my thought. I know that there is something infinitely higher than Deity, the great sun burning in the sky. My existence, my sole existence, is in itself my prayer. And so long as it exists, so long will it pray, that I may have the fullest soul life.